Hey girls, Maria Menounos here, author of the Every Girl's Guide to Life. Want to know my best tips and secrets for organization, travel, weight loss, beauty, fashion, and everything else in between? Go to bing.com/Maria and pick up my new book, The Every Girl's Guide to Life.
You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz studios in Los Angeles, California, and now streaming live on Ustream, this is AfterBuzz TV for United States of Terror. Tonight's host is your boy, DJ Jesse Janedy. Joining me tonight will be our newest AfterBuzz TV co-host, Erin La Rosa. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, DJ Jesse Janedy. Hello, AfterBuzzers. It's your boy DJ Jesse Janedy, and I am joined here, as you heard, by our newest co-host, Erin La Rosa.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Very glad to have you in here tonight.
I'm glad to be here.
Erin is a United States of Terror fan, but before we get into the show, we have a couple of announcements. Number one, Little Miss Maria Menounos, founder of AfterBuzz TV, is on her book tour right now. You can check out bing.com/Maria and find out where she'll be. She's going to be at, I believe, Boston this week. She's finishing up. She'll be in Emerson College signing some books. But she's on tour for her newest book, The Every Girl's Guide to Life, which is an A to Z guide of everything and anything you would ever need. I read the book, and I got to say, it's not just for girls, it's for guys too. I mean, you can skip over the makeup section, but hey, you never know when you might need that. But no, it's a great book. I definitely recommend it, and it was released today, so definitely check that out. Amazon.com or your nearest bookstore.
And the cover's really pretty, too.
Isn't it awesome?
It's really beautiful.
And you watch Vampire Diaries?
I love Vampire Diaries.
It's fun. Someone was like, she reminded us of Elena on the front of it. Very princessy.
That is so true. It's like the hair and the outfit. I love that.
Right. So definitely check that out.
Also, the good news is that it is the #1 book in in the self-help aisles.
Yes.
Wow.
On its first day. That's excellent.
Go
Congratulations.
Maria.
That's exciting.
It is. So we're gonna push that those numbers up, people. Get out there, go buy that, and yeah, wait for our podcast on The Every Girl's Guide to Life.
That's gonna be exciting.
Speaking of podcast, very exciting news. Not only can you guys listen to us on our website, but you can listen and subscribe to us on iTunes and our newly founded Stitcher.com, which will allow you to listen to us via your phone. All those fancy little technological push-button touch phones, they have an app. And speaking of apps, AfterBuzz TV is currently working on creating an app of its own. So we will have an app within about, I believe, 8 weeks from now, hopefully.
AfterBuzz TV.
Yes. And yes, of course, we're always streaming live on ustream.tv/AfterBuzz TV. Audio shows and our video shows. So let's get into this, because I gotta say, now we kind of watched the last episode as well from the show. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch it last week, so Erin walked in as I was in the middle of it, and I just couldn't pull myself away to it, so I forced her to watch it as well.
It's amazing. Eddie Izzard was in that episode.
Yes.
He's the teacher.
Yeah, he plays the psychologist.
The professor.
And kind of called her out.
Yeah, he humiliated her in front of the class. It was, I felt embarrassed for her.
Right.
I felt embarrassed for her. But he is so funny, even though he's being mean to her.
Now, have you ever seen him in a role?
I saw him
like
actually
this?
perform live when he was doing one of his comedy tours. he didn't embarrass anyone in the audience, but like he did to Tara. But he's such a great performer, and he's really wonderful in that role. He's very intimidating.
He was very intimidating.
Yeah, I would not want him for a professor.
No, not at all. He was very bold. But
now, I was gonna say, for those clearly you guys don't know Erin yet, but she is one of our co-hosts, Tom Dentrinas' good friends. Tom Dentrinas, of course, being from the Shameless edition as well as the Borges. And she teaches over at USC, among many other things. She is a writer. Right. Emerson alum, just like our own Maria.
Woo! Go Emerson.
That's right, and myself. And so I just had a question for her about what would you do if your student told you they had multiple personality disorder and was actually, in fact, teaching the class?
Because that happened in the last episode. Tara was teaching the class. And that's why she got in trouble.
Well, Shoshana.
I'm sorry. Her alternate personality, Shoshana, was teaching the class, and Eddie Izzard yelled at her. If one of my students, if I walked into the classroom and they were teaching the class, how bizarre would that be? I think I'd actually be mad.
Would you be mad?
I think I would be mad. I think that I wouldn't. I think that I would feel like they were making fun of me or making fun of my class.
I see that.
And then if they told me that they had multiple personality disorder, I almost feel like I would have had a similar reaction to Eddie Izzard and not believe them.
Right.
Isn't that awful? But it seems like such a thing that you would do in college, right? To kind of, make fun of a teacher or something.
Right, no, exactly. But, I mean, well, looking at Tara with that situation, walking in, here's a middle-aged woman who came to you and walked up to him and forced him to put him in the class because it was a packed class.
Right.
And it was very interesting the things she was saying up there. And when she goes into her altars, she has this overdrawn characterization about her. And so Shauna is very know-it-all, if I must say. So you would go in there and you would take it as making fun of it.
I feel like I wouldn't believe them initially. Hopefully I would believe them later on, but I feel like I would probably be mad like Eddie Izzard was.
Right.
I don't know if I would retaliate in the way he did and humiliate someone in the middle of class, but that would be really bizarre. Also, the class I teach only has 15 students, so it would be like really
be a little more personal.
Really personal. Yeah, that would be crazy. And they're like 18-year-olds, so it's I feel like.
Yeah, okay.
That'd be weird.
That would.
Yeah. So I totally understand where he's coming from. I get you, Eddie Izzard.
And also in that episode, Eddie explained that he's not a believer in multiple personality disorder. He feels that it's something where people create an excuse to hide from their emotions.
Do you agree with that?
I do and I don't. I do agree that is what is happening with the disorder. I believe, in the world, people can get caught up in their head, and, if not having the proper guidance in life. I do believe that if something traumatic happens, when you get sick, this is how I always compare it. If you get sick, your body's going to automatically try and heal itself. Rather than you thinking like, okay, I need to get sleep, I need to be drinking orange juice, I need to be, the normal steps that we think.
Right.
Your body's going to automatically do that. So with this, we know Tara has some sort, we don't know exactly what it is, but something happened to Tara.
Right.
And she's been trying to figure this out. And this is I can understand where someone would say your body's reacting. And because every situation, but that's the other thing. It's not every situation, but most of the situations where her alter comes out is when she's faced with a decision or she's faced with a problem. And we definitely saw that very strong. It was really strong tonight.
In this episode, yeah. But you don't think she's making it up?
No, I don't think she's making it up. Purposely. I don't think anything that she's doing is purpose.
Yeah.
I definitely believe that mind over matter and that can work in a good way, can work in a bad way. If she's consistently thinking of this negative thing in her life and trying to figure it out, do I believe that? And you know, she's a really smart girl. She's definitely a smart woman.
Yeah.
You know, we heard, we'll get into it later, but we heard the advice she was giving her sister. I was kind of taken back by
that speech. Was really powerful
in a grocery
and
store,
cohesive.
You know? Exactly, and I was
for
like,
someone who is lacking sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely think her brain power is up there, and she just kind of has to. Another thing I thought I have about multiple personality disorder is, in every situation, you kind of have a different take on it. So sometimes if you're in a good mood and you're happy, you're going to be a little more bubbly. And some people don't know how to say, all of this is me. And so they feel like they might have to turn each, you know, when I'm mad, I act this way. When I'm happy, I act this way. And, you know, they have to characterize it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know too much about it, but that's just my thoughts on it. So to agree with him, I wouldn't agree with him in the sense of just pushing it aside like it's nothing. No. Because he really, like, even as a psychologist, he said that's junk psychology.
Yeah.
I don't think that's junk psychology. I think that's amazing. That's the psychology I want to learn, because it's really deep and it's really intricate. I don't believe these people make this up. I think they need help. And I think it's to see what you would get after helping somebody like this, what they would be able to tell you, you know, when all these memories come into play. Now, what about you? What's your
Well, I just think, you know, a disorder that really interests me is schizophrenia. And that's when, you know, people are hearing voices telling them what to do. And I definitely believe that schizophrenia is a problem, you know, that it's not being made up. With multiple personality disorder, it just seems so odd to me because of the personalities that they pick.
Right.
Like Tara has this really butch guy named Buck. And she has this really slutty kind of teen named T. And you just kind of wonder where these things pull from and like how it comes to be. And I guess that's really interesting and part of it that I don't understand and that I want to know more about. You know, like, have they figured out how people pick their personalities?
Right.
And I have no idea.
Well, it's funny because with the personalities that she chooses, they're very cookie cutter. And that's why, I mean, the one thing I don't care about the show for is how she goes into the altars. It kind of makes it a little corny to me.
You mean the way that she blinks into it?
Yeah, she like puts her head down and goes into this like Zen state and like comes out of it, and it's like, and scene.
Yeah. And she does that too kind of when she comes out of it.
Yeah.
Same motion.
And that's kind of like watching it, it's almost like, okay, is this really how that happens? Like, or is it as instant and as we, you know, we'll definitely get into that in a little bit, but we saw tonight she didn't do that. There was one scene where she just automatically switched from Alice to Tara. Yeah. That was really interesting. And they finished the last episode. Now you haven't seen any of this season other than what we watched tonight.
I'm catching up now. Yeah, I watched all the previous seasons, but for some reason I just haven't kept up this season.
Now, so for anyone who hasn't seen the past 2 episodes, we're back after the Charmaine's wedding flop a year later, and apparently Tara hasn't had any instances with the altars.
Wow.
For a whole year.
And she's not on medication.
Not on medication. They just went away.
Wow.
Reason why I feel that could have came into play was because with her mother, she was trying to find out. She kept going into this personality called Chick, and it's this little girl, and she gets timid, and it's kind of an excuse. I feel, you know, when it's funny he used the word excuse, but I feel the body might use Chick as an excuse to say, well, here is a little girl, you can't hurt a little girl, you can't talk to a little girl a certain way, so I'm going to go into this character. And she found out that she has a stepbrother, and that she was also put into foster care because the stepbrother used to do things to her
do things.
Now, we don't know. I can't even step and say if it was sexually or anything because they didn't go into that. They kind of just dropped it, and then, hey, we're back a year later.
They love doing that on
They
this show.
sure do.
Bless them.
Another thing they did that with was Kate leaving for Japan.
Oh, my. What a drop.
Where are you going, Kate? What's going on?
Hey, I'm going to Japan.
Yeah,
No
she was
biggie.
really excited about it.
She had on multiple jumpers this episode. Multiple jumpers, including one that had a teddy bear on it.
That was not a teddy. That was like a black bear. It wasn't even
like a forest creature.
It was exactly. It wasn't even like a cute little like snuggly the bear. It was like literally like a black bear. But go Kate, because I love her little personality.
She looks
her
adorable.
Outfit. She does.
Also,
she's the only one who can rock that little bear jumper. So yeah, she's going to Japan, I believe, for an internship of some sort, because she keeps mentioning something about.
She
a
mentioned
job.
teaching English.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
So, but she didn't really expand too much on it because Japan is just very random right now.
Yeah.
As she was leaving, she didn't want to even say bye to her mother. She didn't want to say bye to anybody, which I understand. I know people like that. Japan's kind of far to be doing something like that.
I cannot imagine not saying goodbye to my parents.
I mean,
if you're going away, and she's going away for, it sounded like maybe more than a year.
Yeah. So, but I mean, this family deals with emotions in so many different ways.
Yeah, and she ends up just writing it down in a goodbye note.
Yep.
Which we see at the beginning.
So as she goes, and she's just so excited, she's in the airport, and I love the scene of her sitting next to that guy, and she's just ranting and raving
she's
about.
So excited.
I'm ready to go. I'm going to St. Louis because we're on the same flight, and the guy's just getting annoyed out of her. And it's interesting to see the dynamic of small town girl next to just your typical person who's traveling, working, and
well, because this is all taking place in Kansas,
right?
Which is crazy. I always forget that this show takes place in Kansas.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. So little Kansas girl going to Japan.
Little Kansas girl, and it's really interesting because as we see with a lot of these characters, they're so attached to their family life and they're so comfortable with themselves. How comfortable she was to be sitting next to this man, telling him her whole life, and this guy is like nowhere near that level. Like, who is this weird girl with this bear jumper on sitting next to me?
All of the scenes with her were really funny in the airport, especially, and when she has the freak out towards the end.
Well, and she had the freak out because, as we saw when she was sitting next to the man, there was a earthquake in Japan.
There's an earthquake in Japan.
Very interesting Showtime.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And we'll talk about that later, too.
Yes. So Kate's plans were put on hold. She goes back to the house and is trying to find a way to get back out to Japan.
Frantically.
Very frantically. She finds a way, and she goes back to the airport, and while she's in the bathroom, she finds there's a stewardess in there, and the stewardess, was commenting on her little outfit and
sort of remembering how she was like Kate once.
Yeah. And as soon as Kate mentioned she was going to Japan, the stewardess reacted very strangely and was like, "Oh, well, I hope that works out for you. I mean, I'm sure things are different," and just kind of
the kind of comment that you would not want to hear when you're about to board a flight to Japan.
Exactly. What was your take on that? What did you think when this woman said that?
Well, I feel like if that was me, I would have freaked out because that to me would signal as a woman like, okay, I'm going to be killed and mutilated and sold to someone. That was what I got from that woman's comment, or like something awful is going to happen to me.
Right. I definitely was on that page. However,
because her reaction afterwards pretty much mimics like my thought process.
Really? I mean, I really don't know what I felt because it was like, why random this one place? But then
it was very quick.
She also seemed like she, because one of the things she mentioned was guys. She was like, all the men that you're gonna be seeing, like. Kate's not really like that. She did that web thing where she was like princess something for a while.
Genius.
And it wasn't really her style. You know, she's a one guy kind of gal. She doesn't into the whole jumping around. So that I did kind of take that from the stewardess too.
Okay,
Like,
so
okay,
it was
maybe
like a
something
dude thing.
happened with her with that.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we see Kate waiting in line. She's almost about to board the plane, and she totally flips out, runs
and
backwards.
She's once again talking to everyone around her,
And
rambling.
Yeah. And nobody's listening to her at
one.
all. And she decides to leave. So they left us with that. So we don't know exactly where Kate's heading right now.
It looks like Kate is not going to Japan.
No.
It looks like, if I'm going to predict something.
Now, do we feel that Kate makes excuses? I mean, we see that and a lot with a lot of the characters in this, that they almost make excuses up for themselves. Do we think Kate...
I think that she finds ways to stay. You know, I feel like we see the guilt that she feels with her mother, especially when she tackles her mother to the ground.
Right.
When she transitions to tea in this episode. And she's saying, you know, I need this. Bring my mother back. And I felt like you could feel how desperate she is as a child to just have
a normal
mother. Because can you imagine if your mom turned into a person who is guzzling beer,
to cut you with
and was
a
about
knife?
To cut you with a giant butcher knife? It's
Oh my
just
gosh.
crazy. And I feel like she might also feel responsible for her younger brother, Marshall.
Who, by the way, I think is probably one of the more sane
He is
people
the sane
in the house.
one in the house. I love Marshall.
I do love Marshall.
He is so adorable, and he's like the glue for the family.
Exactly. He understands everybody's dynamic in the relationship.
Yeah.
Although we'll get to this in a second, I kind of don't think I think he understands everybody except his father. I see since last season, the father's Max is kind of breaking.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting to see where we go with that.
I was actually thinking that during this episode, because in the first season I felt like, okay, he really loves Tara. I know why he's staying with her. And this episode I felt like, oh, he's going to leave her.
Right.
That's what it felt like.
Exactly. So let's get into the next topic, which is Max visiting his mother.
Wow. His mom.
They open the show with Max on the phone talking to his mom, and the mother made the comment of, I hope you're not bringing Tara. And he said, no, I'm not bringing Tara. And as the name of the episode is the full F you finger, Tara gives her little half finger up towards that comment. I don't remember the mother ever in the series.
I think she's made an appearance once or twice
but
before.
we've never gone it this in depth.
No, we've not seen her like this. And it's revealed that she's this incredible hoarder.
Yes. How interesting when he walked up to the door.
This poor guy.
Well, okay, just from the phone conversation.
Yeah.
We know something's going to be up with this mother. The mother's going to be crazy.
Right.
Part of me felt like she didn't want Tara to come because she has multiple personality disorder.
That's
I don't
exactly
want to deal with that.
what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now going up to the door when she wouldn't let him in.
I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And that was actually great because I kept looking and I'm waiting for something weird to happen, and then it totally did.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way I could have even predicted, thought of, imagined that the mother was going to be 10 times crazier than Tara.
I know, this poor guy is surrounded by crazies. He's surrounded by crazy women.
She wanted him to drop the mail through the door slot. And
not come inside.
Yeah.
And
so
his excuse
strange.
was that he needed to use the bathroom and then that he needed to give her a hug. And when he first walks in the door, there are boxes piled up. You don't exactly think it's a hoarding situation,
No.
but then...
It was like, oh, she likes newspapers because she had all these...
Yeah, stacks of newspapers. And then, oh, let's open the curtain and go in the living room. Oh,
Here's everything else from the past
40
years of life.
Yeah. And the best part is her Christmas room.
I love it. That is the one room. I wasn't mad at her for that because
It was so pretty, that
it
room.
was pretty.
And it wasn't cluttered.
No, it was very organized.
Yes.
And it's almost like why I love the psychology behind this show.
Oh yeah.
Because we walk into this house, and if you noticed, as a writer, when he walked into the house, the door. There was there's a wall that he couldn't get through to his mother.
Exactly.
He broke through the wall and got inside. As he's inside, we're in this big jumble, and there were a lot of dull colors. It was very, what's going on?
Who
is
scary.
This woman? Yes.
Yeah.
Then the softer side, which is funny because Max wasn't in the Christmas room at all to share the stories.
That's true.
He brought Marshall along with him later to help clean the house up.
Well, you can feel, too, when they were cleaning the house up before they show you his mother's Christmas room, they're in just a very cluttered room where, like you said, it's very drab. It's really cluttered and scary. And you can see Max getting increasingly agitated at his mother's behavior because anytime he tries to remove something, she fights with him.
Right.
She wants to keep the rubber ducky. She won't let him move anything that's hers and that belongs in the house.
Now, you are fascinated by hoarders.
I am.
Correct?
I think it's really interesting because, they say that hoarders, it's not just for nothing, right? They're hoarding for a reason. And in this episode, we see that the mom does have a reason. She's been waiting for her husband to return, and it's been 20 plus years, and he left on Christmas Day, which is part of why that Christmas room is so important to her. She's actually memorialized him in this room and kept it perfect for him. And the rest of the house, she's been keeping everything so that when he comes back, he can catch up.
Right.
But he's not coming back.
Sweetie, he isn't.
He's not coming back. Do you watch Hoarders?
I do. That
show
Hoarders.
is amazing.
I love it.
And the best part is that they never give up anything.
No.
Ever.
No.
It's so deeply rooted psychologically with them, these objects, and it's like, it's not just memorabilia or photos, it's, pieces of receipts that are crumbling and straw wrappers. It's everything.
It's funny because Marshall also made the comment of, I'm sorry we don't come and visit you. I don't know any hoarders per se, but I do have a friend whose father was kind of put in the same situation where no one really visited him too often. It had been about 2 years that he was, kind of left in his own little world. And when my friend went to go visit him, noticed he had been piling up things. He had, been keeping. He'd walk into rooms, and the rooms would be cluttered with years of boxes of receipts, the wrappings to things. You never know if you need to bring it back. It's like, well, this is from 1964, and you're not bringing it back. And I don't even think the store you bought it from is available for you to bring it back.
It's closed, honey.
Yeah, and it gets to the point of realizing that it's just almost keeping things, filling your life up with meaningless things because something you lost.
You just blew my mind with that thought. Yeah. Filling your life up with meaningless things because of something you lost.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
That is meaningful. And I guess not meaningless because in her mind,
everything
in the show,
has meaning.
Christmas is when he will be back. I don't need him to be, I need him to be here, but since he's not here, the Christmas room, I will sit in here and I will...
Yeah. Remember him. Wait for him.
Exactly.
You know what also was a great part of that Christmas scene was that it was Marshall and his grandmother in the Christmas scene, and she feels his hands and she says, "You have very soft hands for a boy. Marshall, are you gay?"
Very interesting.
And he says, "Yes, I am." And then she says, "Well, what's that like?"
No, he said, "Am I?"
Am I?
Am I?
Then what? It was what's that like?
He said, "Oh, am I?" And she said, "What's that like?"
Yeah.
And then she kind of did a weird smile, and he said, "It's like Christmas every day."
It was amazing.
It was. That was an amazing.
It was a great line.
It was.
So funny.
And she finished. That's when she made her little. I don't know how she took it. I don't, because obviously from different times, people have different perceptions of it.
Yeah.
But it looked like she was a little cautious about it, but at the same time comfortable with that whole pause at the end. It was a very dramatic pause.
Yeah. I think him relating it to Christmas probably struck something in her as well, because that means so much to her and is a fun memory for her.
Right.
Obviously.
So now, do we see Marshall trying to connect with this mother more?
You know, I feel like that might be a really good point of the show, actually, if they do utilize that, because like you were saying, it sort of seems like Marshall's trying to figure out who his father is.
Right.
And he started asking his father some questions. You know, his dad, he finds an old photo of his father's band, which I think the name was Beaverland.
Yes, Beaverland.
Beaverland. Great name. And I feel like because his father was really reluctant to open up, he might go through the grandmother to try and sort of figure out who his father was.
And it's interesting with Max because when we look at this family, Tara can't control herself from opening up. Kate is like an open book and says whatever flows out of her mouth. Marshall is very smart and is comfortable with, voicing himself. And Charmaine is just out the box with everything. And Max is and even what's Max's best friend?
Neil.
Neil. Even Neil, a very open person. And with Max, we don't know anything about Max. Mm-hmm. To me, through the whole show, Max is supposed to be the strong, supportive husband, and he's always been that. He's always impressed me, like, wow, you've stayed with her for how long?
I know.
And towards the end of the episode, Max and Marshall were throwing boxes out, and Marshall had asked Max if he could keep one of the Beaverland tapes. And the father kind of pulled back a little bit and was like, yeah, if you want to. And he opened up a wrapped Christmas present, and there was a duck. And you had mentioned earlier that the mother got upset when Max wanted to throw the duck away.
Right.
And Max made an interesting point about how his father, the mother would give him a duck every year for Christmas and his birthday, and the father would put on the fake smile and say, oh, thanks, just what I always wanted. With that, I felt that was interesting because so clearly this woman's issues didn't stem from after the husband leaving. Yeah. That you're getting him a duck every Christmas, every birthday. What were your thoughts with that?
Well, in terms of like how the mother reacted?
In terms of just where
psychology of it?
Where the mother stands, hearing that she was giving him a duck every year. Did you?
Well, did he actually say that to his mother?
Did who say?
Did Max tell his mother that he realized he was getting a duck every year?
No, he didn't. Max said that to Marshall.
Oh, okay.
And that's when Max kind of got mad, and he said, "And now I understand why he left her."
Yeah, I mean, I felt like Max, was saying that. It almost sounded like what a kid would say about why their parent would leave. And it felt like a moment where Max was stuck.
Right.
Emotionally. Like he couldn't get past that point of his father leaving, which I think, a lot of kids whose parents leave and, essentially abandon them like that would have that moment stuck forever.
Right.
And, I feel like in terms of the mother holding on to that stuff, holding on to the ducks, I think that's part of why Max was getting so angry, because he probably wanted to get rid of those ducks.
Right, exactly.
Because that's a bad memory for him. He actually thinks that that's part of the reason why his father left.
Right, which I don't feel it was that.
I don't think so either. I mean, I'm sure it was more, but if you think about like when you're a kid and you try to like
put the pieces together yourself.
why your parents do certain things. It's always the simple things that you think of first.
Right.
Mom did this. You blame the other parent too a lot. But I thought what was interesting about that too is that Marshall then asks Max, have you ever thought about leaving?
Yes.
And he doesn't answer.
No. And you mentioned this because we were kind of on the same page as far as Max and always feeling like, wow, Max really loves Tara, for him to be putting up with everything. And now it's interesting. What are your thoughts on schizophrenia, all these different issues in relationships? I mean, what type of a person does it take to
I know. It's incredible, too, because, like you said, it almost feels like we don't really know who Max is, other than the fact that he's this very strong man who supports his family. But I can't imagine being in a relationship where the person is having something like multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia, where it can overwhelm your life.
It's a job.
It's a job. And, I've been in relationships where people are clinically depressed and have to go on meds, antidepressant meds. And that's a whole bag of fun in itself, right? Dealing with someone who's on medication and constantly dealing with these demons that they have, and, wrestling with emotions of, well, is today going to be a good day? Is today going to be a bad day? And as the person in that relationship, you actually have to kind of change your mood on how that person is feeling. So say your boyfriend's having a bad day. Well, you have to change how you're reacting to him that day to kind of accommodate his bad mood.
Right.
And I feel like Max, what he has to do to accommodate Tara, or anyone with multiple personality disorder is above and beyond. I would not be able to survive something like that with a relationship.
And it was, they kind of took it to, they always take it to the next level. Because, just dealing with depression alone, that's just a mental thing. It's you, me, we're here now. With this multiple personality thing, it's like, oh, well, as we saw, Tara, woke up out of bed and was Buck, you know? Or when she turned into T, she grabbed the knife. And you almost don't know if that is, let's go back to using the word excuse, you could physically hurt somebody. Is that... And if you're going to keep using the excuse of, I don't remember what happens when I go to this stage, is that fair for the person in the relationship? It isn't, but then it's like, well, look at how the kids deal with it.
Yeah, and they do deal with it. And I feel like Marshall is the one that deals with it the best by far. He's like the parent to everyone in that family. But the other thing is, on past seasons, it's almost been like she's cheating on him, with her multiple personalities. She goes out and she's partying and she's making out with random dudes, you think, at least. And that's something, too, that I've never really been able to understand about Max's character, how he deals with that.
So, hopefully this season we get to... it seems as if they're gonna dig deeper into
more of
Max.
his emotional
So
state.
they're gonna give everybody. They need a psychiatrist for the whole family here. So then let's get into our little Miss Tara, who is in college now. She went to
back to school.
Yes, and she is overwhelmed
constantly.
I totally can see where these personalities can be very draining.
Well, and she also admitted that she's become a bit of a sideshow to her classmates who are sort of waiting for her to snap into a personality so that they can see it in action.
Well, what better of an example in your psychology class than to have somebody like this?
It's a live subject.
Exactly. But her biggest little turmoil that she is dealing with in the show tonight was Charmaine's baby shower.
Oh, boy. I love Charmaine.
I love Charmaine, too. She's very supportive as a sister. I think the balance of how she she allows Tara to upset her, but at the same time, it's her sister. She knows how to deal with her.
Although, do you notice, too, that Charmaine, I always know when Charmaine is going on a rant if she's about to tip Tara over the edge. And I always want to shake her and be like, you know what you're doing.
Yes.
You know what's going to happen.
She loses it.
I know, she always does, and it's always off of one of Charmaine's rants about something, and Charmaine had a lot to rant about in this episode.
She did. So Charmaine is about to pop, literally. She has 3 weeks her due date, and she has a baby shower, as they're showing us, within a week.
Yeah.
So Tara, who is supposed to be on the RSVPs and send out...
Yeah, she's supposed to be the planner.
Yes, but okay, let's get back to this because we were dying laughing. We can't figure the name out, so if anyone knows the name of Mike/Michelle's Cupcakes...
He's a comedian, and I've seen him in so many things, and he's actually on... I know what show he's on.
What is it?
He's on a show called Children's Hospital, which is on... the G4 network, I believe, or Cartoon Network.
Okay.
And
check that out.
So funny, and he's great. He's a clown doctor in it, I believe. And anyways, he plays in this episode. He plays we don't know if it's post-op or pre-op tranny who comes and is soliciting cupcakes for the baby shower. And what a pretty woman Mike Michelle is.
Yes, Mike Michelle. Yeah, we don't know what the operation deal is with that, but
I hope he comes back on other episodes, but I don't see a reason why he would.
No, for the baby shower, I would like,
I know,
at least can we
I'd
get
love to
one
see
more,
him.
one more
Just one more
episode.
Mike Michelle.
Yes, because he was really intrigued because within that little session that they were having, Tara kind of couldn't just keep everything in place. She couldn't decide who needed to get emails. She was emailing the baby shower invitation, and then
which was a big no.
No, especially to Alice, who took over Tara, and as Alice claims, she's like an apartment. All of us, we take the key when we need to use it.
And in this case, she needed to use it.
Yes.
She needed to fix the baby shower.
She needed the mother duties.
Right. And Mike Michelle was there to witness the transformation.
And what did he say?
He said, fascinating.
Fascinating, yes. And this coming from Mike Michelle, we know that there's some serious issues there.
Yeah.
So Alice kind of, keeps she gets to work.
Yeah, we see that she does goodie bags, sort of party favors. She's on top of things the way that Tara isn't.
And which is kind of interesting because I kind of was confused why Charmaine was... obviously I know why Charmaine wanted Tara, it's her sister. But Alice was putting the attention and focus on Charmaine, which is usually what the other characters in Tara's life want.
Yeah.
They want the attention.
Yeah.
Go to prove that it's not just the attention that they want. They need Tara in their life.
Yeah, and like you're saying, even as Alice was sort of fixing everything, we saw Charmaine really wanting her sister back and wanting her sister to be there, which was sad. And then, her sister did come back, and it was as soon as Alice put her hand on her sister's belly and felt the baby kick. And from previous episodes, we know that Alice has always wanted a baby.
Right.
So it must have been too painful for her to feel that kick.
So now, going back to you talking about not knowing where they pull these personalities out.
Yeah. I was thinking about that with
What
Alice.
do you think the baby situation is with Tara?
I was thinking about that too. It's funny that you brought that up when we were watching the episode because I always try to figure it out.
Right.
And I have no idea. I guess Tara, deep down, I can see the whole homemaker thing. I feel like most women wish that they were better, at cooking or, hosting things because it's fun and it's sort of what's expected, right?
Right.
So I can see where Tara gets that and why she would want that part of her. But the baby part, we don't really see Tara bring that up in her life.
At all.
At all.
We know she has 2 kids, and she does the best with them.
Yeah.
Do we think maybe she feels she's not capable? Probably wants a child, but knowing with this disorder, could she really have a child? Like, because Buck will bring the baby out to
That's a great idea, yeah. Because, exactly, it might just be that she wants to be that good mother, and she knows that she can't be.
Right.
Because even though Alice always wants a baby, she never ends up having one.
Right.
It always gets foiled for her.
And also very interesting that this topic came up the same episode where Kate, broke down and was like, I need my mother right now.
Yeah.
So definitely, we're definitely going to see some baby talk this season.
Well, especially with Charmaine.
Yes, because Tara kind of snaps out of it and brings Charmaine to the grocery store. And Charmaine is upset because out of 60 people, only 11
have
RSVP'd. And she's really upset doing the typical thing that, somebody would do. Like, well, then I'm never speaking to them again.
Yeah, she goes into one of her rants, which is great. I love it when Charmaine rants because, it's funny to watch.
And it's usually what she's saying is
true.
True. It's just in a very...
Yeah.
childish way.
No, totally.
She's
totally childish, and she says everything that you would want to say.
Exactly.
But maybe feel too self-conscious too.
And so with that, like you had said, normally when she goes into her rants, Tara turns into her alter. Tara held it together and kind of snapped Charmaine out of it, pushed her up against the alley, the aisle of the grocery store, and read her. And it was a really touching scene. It was a great scene for Tara because we usually see people giving this type of talk to Tara. From the son or the daughter, having to sit and tell her who she needs to be in life and how things are going to go. It was nice to know, like, okay, Tara, you have yourself together. And it just reassured me of how strong she is.
That's what I thought, too. And it made me feel like I understood more of why these characters wanted Tara back all the time.
Right.
And especially with the scene where Alice is, basically trying to help things. That's the Tara that she wanted back, the one that gave her the speech and told her it would be okay and that she has to keep going, and tomorrow is going to be another day, which was sort of the end of that speech.
And now, so as she ripped the list up and gave it to Charmaine walks away and she opens a Red Bull and turns into tea.
Oh, tea.
Very interesting, the character she turns into.
Yeah. This sort of immature.
Doesn't have to deal with things.
Yeah, highly sexualized. Yeah.
So she runs out of the store stealing a 30 rack of bud.
Yeah.
And Charmaine is livid.
Yeah.
You're not going to do this to me. And she runs out, chases after her. And T's just been trying to run away.
Oh, yeah. The whole episode, she's been trying to steal car keys, and she finally has her car keys. So now she is splitting. Interesting,
again, if we want to go towards the excuses, Tara has to deal with this very important job. Everything's on her shoulders. She's in school. She's dealing with her daughter leaving. She just wants to run away. And the only person who can allow that, because Alice wouldn't run away, but T would.
Yeah. That's true. T would allow that.
Yeah. So as she gets in the car and she's gets ready to drive away, Charmaine, who I think is just bold for doing this because...
Oh my God, I was so nervous.
Me too, because, if your sister claims that she can't remember anything, out of everybody, T and Buck, that's not anybody to play with.
No.
She puts her hands on the car and she's just standing in front of this pregnant... I'm surprised nobody...
I was waiting for someone in the supermarket, in the parking lot to say, hey, you're about to run over a pregnant lady, which was essentially what I was nervous was going to happen because, she kept moving the car forward towards her sister who, was physically trying to block the car from leaving.
And again, to jump into the psychology part of that, interesting that she didn't hit her sister.
Yeah. I actually really thought that she would. I really
did too. I thought they were gonna make her lose the baby.
I thought so too. I was like, this is a bizarre and exciting twist.
But she didn't. T steps on the gas in reverse and ends up getting hit by a car. As Charmaine's water breaks.
Literally, it's like a shot from The Graduate we see between Charmaine's legs, the water break, and her sister's car get plowed into.
And that's where they left us, and I can't even believe it.
And then, the screen cut out, and we were in the studio going, what?
Just open mouths.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just couldn't...
What a cliffhanger.
What a cliffhanger, because they didn't really leave us with too much of a cliffhanger in the past 2 episodes, actually.
And also for Charmaine, she was having problems with Neil, who lost his job.
Right.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how he handles being a dad, an unemployed new dad.
And 3 weeks early.
Yeah.
Breaks.
Yeah, while he's trying to find a job.
Stress.
Oops.
Ouch. So before we get to a commercial break, do you have any last comments on the episode that you wanted to talk about?
I hope we see more Eddie Izzard. That's kind of my hope for this. More Eddie Izzard and more Mike Michelle. Please.
Yes, we need Mike Michelle
in our life.
We need those cupcakes.
Back. Maybe he should just get a spin-off show.
That would be awesome. That would be very interesting to see what that spinoff show would be about. So we're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be back with news and gossip.
Want to find out what the AfterBuzz is about?
Janice is a drama queen.
This is the divide that is going to carry the series.
Give us a call. 424-256-1729. 424-256-1729.
It's television, and they want it to be as dramatic as possible.
I mean, it's Shakespearean.
You never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Find out why AfterBuzz TV is the #1 source for after-show content.
Now, in the eyes of Jimmy, Nucky is a villain.
424-256-1729. 424-256-1729.
I mean, who would you guys rather hear that from? Your husband or your best friend?
The wig will come out.
When the TV show is over, get your AfterBuzz on.
Alrighty then. So we're going. Oh, then we got the theme song. Phil's stepping it up.
I figured I'd mix it up.
So we got the theme song to United States of Terror right now. Very Daisy type.
It makes me feel like I'm on a boat in the middle of the sea.
Yeah. Very like Beatles-esque.
Yeah.
And it's interesting with the animation too.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I think it actually won an award for its opening credits.
Really?
Yeah, it won an Emmy, I believe.
Ooh, we'll definitely make sure to look that up and check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I thought we should do for a special segment. But anyway.
Thanks, Phil, for giving us a special segment this week. So, on Monday, Showtime had released this episode called The Full FU Finger, featuring a Japanese earthquake preventing one of the characters, who is Kate, from leaving Kansas, leaving people to wonder if Showtime should pull the episode or do some immediate altering to the episode. Initial thoughts when you saw that? Well,
I just felt I felt bad for Showtime. I mean, what ill timing.
I mean,
it's just awful.
How many weeks after is this now?
I think it's only been a month.
Yeah,
maybe less.
I think less than
2, 3?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Really, really interesting.
But it must be crucial to the season if they didn't cut it out.
Right, and well, it's just interesting because as surprised as we were that she was going to Japan.
Yeah.
You know, random
of
place,
all
of
things,
all
and then it gets an earthquake. I mean, just nuts.
Nuts. But so Showtime to that had to say that the current season was written and filmed last fall. Long before the tragic events that have occurred in Japan, all of us at Showtime stand with the world in expressing our deepest sympathy for the tremendous loss and ongoing challenges facing the people of Japan. They decided that they're not going to pull the episode or alter it. Instead, what they're doing is they put up the charity that you can call for Japan.
Great.
So yeah, I mean, there must be something very intricate about Japan itself, you know, when it comes to Kate.
In the season that they couldn't get rid of. Yeah, I agree. It's great that they're trying to at least sort of smooth it over a little bit by getting their fans to donate to the cause, because it's still ongoing.
So imagine what they were going through 2 or 3 weeks ago.
They must have been freaking
really?
out.
You had to write Japan?
Can you imagine? I wonder if that writer's still there. The writer's like, oh.
Actually, you want to know something really funny? The same writer wrote the first 3 episodes, and then he's not writing the rest of the season.
Oh my God.
But I mean, if they wrote,
no,
because they wrote this and filmed it last fall. So.
Wow.
But very interesting as far as that goes.
You know, he's somewhere just being like okay, okay.
Well, it's also interesting because I remember. It wasn't a really big movie, but Collateral Damage with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they had to pull that, given 9/11. But it's interesting. Obviously, this is a TV show, so.
Well, and you know that James Cameron was actually planning to go to Japan to do some underwater diving for research for Avatar 2. This is true, and he had to cancel it because of all of the aftershocks. But apparently Richard Branson is actually planning on doing the dive anyways, despite the aftershocks. He's going to one-up James Cameron.
Well, I think
AfterBuzz TV exclusive.
Got us an exclusive right there. That's very interesting. All right, well, that's your AfterBuzz TV United States of Terror news and gossip for the week of April 12th, 2011. And now, let's get into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, this is one of my favorite parts of the show, especially with shows like this. One of this episode went by really quickly for me.
Yeah, it was really fast because it was really good.
Right, and it seemed almost too simple. Usually with this show, we get a lot of different storylines, and we have to deal with usually like 6 at a time. This one we only had 3 really.
Yeah, 3 main ones.
And with that, they taught us a lot about the characters, more so than the past 2 seasons have in this one episode.
Yeah.
So what are you predicting for next week? Where do you see?
Okay. So where I see things going, first of all, in terms of I think and I hope in terms of schooling with Tara that she might actually have an effect on Eddie Izzard's character. I hope that he becomes a little bigger part of it, and that he actually changes his mind, because in the episode he admitted that he really deeply believes that this is not a condition. So that's one prediction. Prediction number 1.
I'm totally with you on that.
Okay, and then my next prediction in terms of Max and his mom, I don't think she's going to change as a character, but I think she's going to become a really integral part of the family.
I totally, I'm right with you with that. I don't think, I mean, it gets a point where clearly she had an issue before, and now, something huge happened in her life, and she has issues afterwards. Yeah. But it's to the point of, can she at least, and maybe she couldn't help her son, but maybe she can help Marshall. I also feel like she might be a source of like serious tension for Max. Right.
I feel like her being back in the picture now is going to bring up all sorts of memories for him, and maybe push him to the edge in terms of his own marriage.
I definitely see that coming with Max. Max is just really that on his last thread in this whole series. I'm hoping though, I don't think we'll see too much of the mother in the next few episodes. I think they're gonna put her away, because that was a lot to witness.
Oh yeah.
With that.
It was fun though.
Yeah, it definitely was. I loved seeing that world.
What do you think's gonna happen with Kate in Japan?
I don't think she's gonna go. I definitely don't think she's gonna go. And last but not least, where do we see Tara and Charmaine's situation going right now?
I am so nervous about that.
I can't even predict anything.
Yeah, I have no idea. Also, no idea.
All right, guys.
No prediction.
We are stumped. So we will see you back next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming out and joining us. It's glad to have.
I can't wait for the next week's episode.
Erin in here, and we'll be joined hopefully. We can get Tom in here as well.
That would be great.
That would be very great.
Yeah.
So until next week, guys. I don't know. I guess we'll just see you later. Go buy Every Girl's Guide to Life by Maria Menounos.
Beautiful cover.
Get those numbers up.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janedy, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.